As many of you may know, created on December 28, 2023, this one level has been the forefront behind every Geometry Dash speedrun for years. With its snappy movement and precise mechanics, it has been a trophy for anyone willing to conquer it. The year is 2023, and Geometry Dash speedrunning is at an all-time peak. Every level that comes out is ruthlessly overhauled with competitive runners. Plenty of levels have had the spotlight, such as Jet Lag and I Wanna Be the Guy, but one level stands out amongst the sea of speedruns. No level has been more influential than the very reason this video exists. This famous level, for those who don't know it, is called Schluggin' Banana. This is a platformer level that uses a never-used-before gimmick, Spider. This level grants you with 10 keys that you have to collect before this wall right here closes in and crushes you, giving you just about 30 seconds to fly all around the screen at incredibly impressive speeds to reach the end just before the wall closes in on you. You can collect the keys in any order of you choosing, so it's up to our dedicated Schluggin' Banana community to figure out the fastest route to the end. Damn! The first person who was willing to take on this challenge was a player who went by Corbs. He is an incredibly skilled player with years of experience and hundreds of thousands of attempts under his belt. He spent hours on this level, using trial and error to find the best combination of keys, managing his stress levels for seemingly ever, until he got this run. Corbs beat Schluggin' Banana, and did so at an incredibly fast pace of 29.325 seconds. Corbs put in immense time and effort to become the first victor of this level. With the time constraint and confusing nature of the level, being the first to complete it is quite the honor to bestow. Corbs used various methods to crank out this impressive record, pulling off flawless gameplay for almost 30 seconds straight. There are so many tight clicks and maneuvers required to pull off this run, and it is going to be a difficult one to beat. After Corbs proved to the world that Schluggin' Banana was possible by a human, a rush of new players came flowing in, one of those players being Meowmasterer. Meowmasterer had a background of dominating the Goofy Runners leaderboards, and he was ready to bring those skills to Schluggin'. Quickly after starting, Meow discovered one of his many time saves, coined the sunk cost fallacy skip. This skip involved grabbing these 2 keys before entering the first gap, as opposed to the previous strat to get them later in the run, precisely after getting the squeezer and useless. Oh, you don't know what those are? Well, during the rush of activity, the player base came up with names for each of the keys needed to beat the level to provide easier communication between runners, and have better understandings for each of each other's strategies. In the early days, it was all about finding the fastest way to get all the keys, and Meow was the best at that, finding the best order to beat. The first one, Troublesome 2, Middle, Hook, the Squeezer, Useless, Tom, Little Bugger, and finally number 10, number 10. With the order in place, beating the level still wasn't easy, and Meow could only get runs with multiple deaths. It was theorized by Meow that maybe you could squeeze into the first gap before the block closed, but nothing came from those efforts. However, people were getting very close with Tasses. After some time, Meow finally challenged the record, getting his first deathless run of 29:53.
I am. I got a new world record.
This shocked the community and sent waves across the internet, further opening this level to new eyes. Meowmasterer proceeded to get scarily close to perfection with a last key fail of 25 seconds and later on a 23.9. This nearly ruined Meow's motivation to keep playing, but he decided to keep going, given he was so close. Finally, after all his efforts, Meow lands a 23.35 and is crowned the new record holder. With Meow's goal accomplished, he stepped away from the game for a little while to break some other records, leaving the doors open for anyone willing to take it on. A few players tried, but none succeeded. After some time and the dust settled, a new player emerged, ready to take on the enormous task of beating the level. Blumpus spent hours improving at Slug and Banana, trying to finish the quest deathless. Even after this time and effort spent, still no success was achieved, proving the inconceivable difficulty that is speedrunning this level. After Meow got his time, the window for a world record started to open again. People started looking at older runs, seeing if they did anything that was swept under the rug. A player named Corbs, years before the level gained its fame, was seen getting the hook and leaving before the spike closed off. Players thought this was too difficult and no one could pull it off, if not for the utmost top of the leaderboard. The community deemed it the ibuprofen strat due to the amount of headaches it caused. This Corbs character had just started playing the game again after 40 minutes of relentless resting. He was so sick and tired of not playing, he had to open the game again and destroy Meow's new record. He was determined and had his eye on the ball and was ready to take on the challenge and was already seeing results with a time of 23.238, further boosting his motivation and drive to keep going. He wasn't going to give up anytime soon. Until he got bored. A little while after Corb's hiatus, the BLJ was discovered, named after its resemblance to the backwards long jump in the indie game Super Mario 64. This skip has the player get useless before the squeezer, which allows for a faster cycle later on. This skip allowed top players to get far runs way more often, not relying on the ibuprofen strat. Looking back at Corbs, very unexpectedly, Corbs' beautiful run was found out to be hacked, disappointing the entire community, leaving a sour taste on the speedrun for a short amount of time. However, upon this newfound hacked run, new players were brought into this category because they felt like they finally had a chance to shine in the spotlight. Do you remember Blumpus? After pouring his heart and soul into this revolutionary level, he finally closes the deal with a time of 23.53, making a name for himself in this niche but deep community. The mods were verifying Blumpus' new run and noticed something bizarre. They noticed that with the perfect setup, you could probably squeeze into the squeezer's chamber before it closes. This strat was coined the sweaty butthole squeeze by the admins of the community, and top runners rushed to get an easy world record with the save. Coming off the heat of Blumpus' new run, Meow stabs back with an insane 23.291, using the new sweaty butthole squeeze, getting what was considered a perfect run by the community. Everyone was in complete disbelief of the gap between first and second place being lengthened once again. Meow was just too good and no one could compete. For now. Meow gets a 23.229. This run utilizes the same methods, but just with cleaner movement and tighter lines, scraping off frames off the once perfect run.
I got a new world record with this though.
Looking back at Corbs for a minute, after his 20-minute retirement of speedrunning, Corbs fires back with a 29.137. This is an incredible run, clocking in at second place, closing the gap between the two runs. He managed to scrape this run in using the new dropping off the kids method. This method is seen when picking up Little Bugger instead of going to the floor and then back up. With the correct cycle and timing, you can fly off the block to skip 2 inputs and make the later cycle easier. This skip revolutionized the game to new heights. Little did we know, in the background, Meow Masterer was cooking up the God Run. He was getting closer and closer to the run, with a 21-second fail at the last gap and a 20-second fail as well. All of this culminating in a crazy time that comes frames off getting the God Run, dying at the last fall with 19 seconds on the clock. But he never did it. A month and a half passes and not a word in the community. Meow's still hard at work, new players emerging and fading, progress steady and uneventful. When suddenly the community is about to be shocked. The most unexpected thing happens that leaves everybody speechless. As hard as it may be to believe, Corbs' second place run is exposed. An anonymous player who shall remain nameless sees a cut in Corbs' run right here. You see that? I'll play it again. Right there. It's a hard one to notice, but once you notice it, it's just painful to look at. Corbs is guilty of this fraud and will never be forgiven. The hype is dead after Meow persists to fail to squeeze through the last gap at the end, and Corbs ruining community's spirits with his illegitimate runs. Speedrunning Slug & Banana has come to a halt, and nobody plays it anymore. The Slug & Banana speedrunning community is so deep and has so many storylines and upbringings, it is truly incredible. Although we did see one new phase, being Eli Scallion, who would become the fastest person to beat the game Deathless for the first time, and also becoming the 4th victor of the level. If Eli ever comes back to the game, we might see some record contention, but sadly, this is where the story ends for now. Until a few weeks later of on and off playing from Meow, he couldn't get the run and took a step back from the game for real. A few months passed without much activity at the top. A few players got close to beating it, but the number remained as just the 4 stayed on the podium. Until Corbs, the first victor of the level, showcased the task he was working on for the past 6 years. The task clocked in at 17.3. It was perfect. It used every single skip discovered so far, including a new one. And so, the legendary having the side piece over whilst cooking breakfast for our grandma skip was born, which was strictly task only. It utilizes getting the first one and the troublesome 2. With inhumanly fast timings and precision, you can just barely make it to the moving block before it closes in. Proving the strat Meow theorized all those years ago was indeed possible. Having the side piece over whilst cooking breakfast for our grandma skip would be a huge blockade between the task and the human players, and would take eons to overcome. We would need to find a huge skip that was humanly viable to even think about reaching that cycle. This task brought new motivation to the community, who got to work making a humanly viable strat for the level. Eli started running again, who was the first person to contest the record since Corbs hacked his runs. We'll get back to him later. However, along with all this new motivation, Meowmaster picked the game back up and got a 17.395 with the task strat. This soared Meowmaster into new heights of terror. This blew shockwaves to the community. Meowmaster, and the rest of the community for that matter, knew exactly what he had to do. So the grind to beat Corbs' tasks begun. Meowmaster streamed every single day for 9 decades, and then all of a sudden Seedrunner enters the battle. As you know, Seedrunner is known for having world records on every single Geometry Dash level, and now it is his time to take on this behemoth. Meow got many close runs that all ended at the last drop. Until January 1st, where he did the impossible. Meowmaster got a 17.291. The community was starstruck. Not only could no one else even pull off the having the side piece over whilst cooking breakfast for our grandma's skip, no one could even think about beating the unbeatable task. Meow had done the impossible. A few years later, he improved his time a few times, getting a 17.237, then a 17.203, and then finally, a 17.17. Having the side piece over whilst cooking breakfast for our grandma's skip. Ibuprofen strap. Sweaty butthole squeeze. Dropping off the kids method. To top it all off, a perfect ending. Where the record stands today. From the beginning, where getting just the first 3 keys was revolutionary to saving multiple cycles and finishing the level off in almost half the time given. This level has went through countless runners and strategies, all to end here. Meow has said that he doesn't plan on beating his time unless a new strat is discovered. But after the time gets lower and lower, newer strats become harder and harder to find. Who knows? This might be the last record this level will ever see. Of course, Seedrunner is always running.